What up and welcome to the Beneath the Dirt podcast. I'm your host, Rombone. Thank you for tuning in. We got a special episode for you this week. We got the homie Jokerz Gallery in the fucking house. What's good?
What up, y'all?
And not only do we got Jokerz Gallery in the house, but we are celebrating 15 years of Insane Clown Posse's The Tempest. It's crazy to think that this album's been out 15 years.
I think whenever I think of this album, I immediately think of New Era ICP, but it's not New Era ICP anymore. But whenever I think of it, that's what I think of immediately is New Era ICP. But like you said, it's 15 years old, so it's not exactly new anymore.
It's so true because it was the first album after the sixth. It's like, what are they gonna do? You know, it's like the saga, that whole storyline that everybody followed all that time is done. And we were just, it was like, what is this going to be? What are they going to do? It was kind of a weird time.
I think initially whenever the whole Joker card saga began, they didn't even think they'd get to 6. So I don't even think they began to even think about back in 92 what the post Joker card era was going to be. I think it was just a goal set out as fucking 20-year-olds or whatever and teenagers that they were going to do this 6th. So I don't know if they even knew that they were going to get through the entire 6 and move on to do something post 6, because then, you know, the whole lure around the OG Joker cards at first is after the 6 dropped, it all ends. So it was kind of like they were plotting that everything ends. That's what all the juggalos back then was plotting, is Shaggy gonna kill Jay and Jay gonna kill Shaggy's dual suicide at the same time. They're gonna go out like Heaven Gate style with all the juggalos at a gathering. I remember that shit was on Shockumentary. Like, people were speculating because it was supposed to be the end, but eventually it got there and it wasn't the end, so they had to figure out what the fuck they were gonna do.
Yeah, very true. I remember thinking that, like, are they just going to stop after the 6? Like, is it just done? It was weird. There was so much mystique back then too.
They were probably like, you know, sitting there going over the ideals and all the mythological shit about the Dark Carnival. And they're like, what are we going to do after the 6th? And one of them probably said, dude, we'll be like 35. We'll be too old to be rappers then. Well, we ain't got to worry about that.
Right. That's true.
and then you get there and it's like, oh shit, man, life fucking comes at you fast.
So true. Back then, like, the thought of an old rapper was like, not like, no, it's not cool to be an old rapper. But now everybody's old. Yeah.
I remember like Eminem used to say he didn't want to be 30 rapping. Motherfucker's 50 rapping.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, 15 years of The Tempest. Crazy. Time flies by. What do you remember when the Tempest first dropped? Like, what were your thoughts when the Tempest first came out?
I bought it when it came out that week, and my first thoughts was I made it through it like 1.5 times. And later on, like, probably, you know, within a couple weeks, next time I went to the CD shop, I took it and traded it in 2-for-1 deal back in the day, because that's what you had to do back in the day. So if you didn't like a CD, if you didn't give a CD at least a 5 out of 10 back in the day, you trade that motherfucker in 2-for-1 and get you another one, because you couldn't go listen to whatever the fuck you wanted on streaming. So that's exactly what happened to The Tempest for me. Is I didn't dig it at all. I like the second track on the album. I'm sure we'll get into the tracks, but the second track on the album and then the closing track were the only ones that I like fucked with at all when I first heard it. So my first impressions was that motherfucker's got to go back for the 2-for-1 trade in at fucking FYE.
That's funny. I remember when this album came out, I probably got it on release day, as I have been doing for a long ass time, and kind of the same feeling. I was like, man, this isn't it. This just ain't it. The Dark Carnival lore or whatever just like ain't there with this album. Like, that magic it felt like it was gone, and it was just a weird time. I've talked about it so many times for Psychopathic in general, but, like, you know, I had 2 favorite songs on here as well, Bitch I Lied and If I Was a Serial Killer as well. Like, those were like my 2 songs off the album. But it just, you know, 2 songs, I'm not going to put a CD in, you know, and just listen to those 2 songs. So I just never listened to the album, you know, for a long ass fucking time.
It was a weird time, like you talked about being a juggalo. Like, most of the people that I grew up with from like 16, 17, 18, 19 they had kind of faded away from the scene. Once like 2002 through like 2004 5 hit, like 75% of the people that called themselves juggalos in Owensboro stopped fucking being juggalos. So I think that was another reason that a lot of juggalos didn't like it, is it kind of, you were just kind of by yourself bumping the shit, and you were used to fucking getting that motherfucker jumping in a ride with a bunch of fucking juggalos smoking and whatever you want to do, and bumping it for a couple of spins for your first initial reactions to it. And whenever you're just bumping it in your bedroom by yourself, it doesn't have that same magic. And it didn't have the same magic. Mikey Clark produced it, kinda. He sent them beats, but he didn't produce it in the studio with them. So that some of that magic was missing.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, yes, it was Mikey Clark. It was good to hear them back together finally 7 years later, but it just wasn't the same. But it has been 15 years. Let's break this motherfucker down track by track and see what we think of it 15 years later. First track, The Sky Is Falling. You got the storm sirens going off. You can hear the thunder. And then you get these pianos that come in. I'm a sucker for pianos, man. And, listening to it now, those pianos kick in. It's like, oh, I'm fucking with it. And
It's
then
like pass me by, nothing's left type vibes with that shit.
I think this is such a dope opening track for the album. It's like an intro blended in with like the opening track, and they're not even really rapping on the song either. It's kind of like some spoken word shit. But in walks the clown. Like,
whoop whoop.
oh,
It was dope, man. Like each of them got their intro. Like Shaggy fucking intros Jay, and then Shaggy intros himself. And whenever they get announced, like they go whoop whoop just to the beat of the shit. It's a dope ass intro for sure. Before we get into the album, I'll get into like how my like view of the album changed right before 2008 Gathering. I was going there. I discovered it was like 90 miles from my house. So I was like, I'm fucking going to this shit. So I'm like, well, they're obviously gonna play some of this shit. So what I'll do is I'll buy that album. Think that way, if they play some new shit, at least I'm not just standing in the mosh pit not knowing what the fuck they're playing. So I rebought the album. But whenever I bought that album, I picked up the Gathering of the Juggalos Family Underground documentary. And what they used for a lot of that documentary's background was the Tempest fucking songs, and they worked fucking perfectly with like a nice party gathering vibe. And just hearing that, along with, like I said, I picked up the album. I was starting to dig the album, and then I picked up Hatchet Attacks, the DVD where it was all live, and they closed the DVD out with Serial Killer. And seeing it live just made me like that song so much more. So after that, I started listening to the album and had it in pretty consistent rotation going up to that Gathering. And then oddly enough, they didn't play shit from that fucking album whenever I got to that Gathering.
Right. And I'm glad you reminded me to talk about, the how we got into the album. For me, it was just 2 weeks ago, seeing the footage from the Juggalo weekend performance when they were performing with the rock band. I saw the footage for I Do This, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot how good of a song that is.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? And I thought of you immediately. I was like, Jokerz Gallery, Ben saying The Tempest is dope. I'm going to finally go revisit this album. And, that in combination with hearing them perform I Do This live with that band, and I listened to the album, and I'm like, okay, things have changed.
Yeah, I had a point I was going to bring up at the end, but since you brought up that song, it really stands out on I Do This. It really stands out on that with all the like Joker card and Mikey Clark production and all that type of typical ICP stripped away. What really shines in this fucking album is Violent J's fucking songwriting ability. That song is fucking great.
Yes.
That's one of his best pen songs ever.
Yep. We will get to it, but I definitely agree. That song is fucking amazing. Such a good song.
Stepped up his writing game for sure. He knew he had to, and he succeeded with that.
Yes, sir. Any more thoughts on The Sky Is Falling?
Just that it's one of my favorite intros of all time from him. Really done really fucking well.
It's really good. Really good. I love how you got the storm in the beginning. It's like, all right, we get ready for some shit, and just yeah, definitely a solid opening track for sure. And then this is where the confusion kicked in for me 15 years ago. Ride the Tempest. All of a sudden, the fucking Tempest is a roller coaster. And it's like, wait, I thought this was a storm, but this is a dope track. I like this song. It reminds me of Tilt-A-Whirl only in the sense that it's just another carnival ride. You know what I mean? And
Yep,
it,
it's
you know,
or the Amazing Maze. It's got that kind of feel to it as well.
yep. And then I started thinking like, is the roller coaster like an analogy for thunder or a storm? Because it has that
That
rumbling
sound.
sound. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. I never even thought about that, but yeah, that does make sense. A loud ass roller coaster makes thunder and shit.
right.
Because parents always make up reasons to tell their kids what thunder is. So maybe Jay's mom told him one time that's fucking a roller coaster in the sky, and it just stuck with him. That's pretty good. That's pretty good idea.
Yeah. But I like this track. The back and forth from Jay and Shaggy are dope. They're this kind of brings there is like dark carnival shit in this. They're talking about the people's goods and bads that they're seeing as they're riding this roller coaster. It's dope.
I think that's why that's one of the ones I immediately connected to. It had that dark carnival feel to it, and it's talking about an attraction at the dark carnival. They kind of kept it to the rules there. They weren't talking about a Joker card, but they were talking about an attraction at the dark carnival, which worked for
Yeah.
me.
Which is dope because again, like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, it's like the Joker cards are done. What are they going to do? They're still tying it into the dark carnival. It's fucking fire.
Yeah,
Kind of,
world building. That's something that I didn't really think of or heard many juggalos predicting that was going to go on. The way that the dark carnival would continue until the next deck or whatever they got to would be continuing to build the dark carnival, like the attractions for it. That was a good idea to do that for sure.
absolutely.
Opens up a whole new book.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many ideas you could do carnival wise and all that stuff, man. And they're still doing it to this day.
Yep, still works.
Yeah, it does. And up next we got Alley Rat, Shaggy 2 Dope solo, the first of 2 Shaggy 2 Dope solos.
Oh yeah,
on this album. This is just a fucking scrub anthem right here. This fucking song's fire. I love this shit. I want to hear this song live.
I always wondered if he did it solo on his solo tours. I guess he doesn't though, because you went to a couple of them. Didn't you check out?
I did check out the Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour, and if he did play this song, it would probably be like one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I don't really fuck with this song.
Straight up, yeah.
And then you just forget that 2 minutes or whatever, how long they play the song.
That would be a dope one for sure. It'd be hard to fucking keep up with that fucking lyrics on stage. He goes in this fucking. That's what's really stood out to me is Shaggy's flow. Because you think about before this album, this one Shaggy was at his worst, in my opinion, struggling with the alcohol, barely showing up. Man, he wasn't on a lot. And then first time you hear him on this album, this motherfucker has stepped his game up supremely.
Yeah, you got that beat that's just dun, 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 like just fast in your face. But Shaggy kills it solo. When I saw him on the Fuck the Fuck Off tour back in the day, he was rocking that shit with Clay. He killed that shit solo. The Fuck the Fuck Off motherfucker tour, like no hype man other than the DJ, and he kills it solo, man. He does such a good job by himself on stage.
The 2017 gathering, the best performance of the whole fucking gathering, ICP included, was Shaggy 2 Dope at 4 a.m. by himself.
Yeah.
It was by far, I mean, everybody that was there will agree too. That was by far the best event of the entire gathering.
Yeah, anytime Shaggy goes on tour, I'm there. Like, he kills that shit because he got bangers solos for solo songs. Like, he got bangers.
He usually does some scratching and shit on his solo shit, which I've always done, even back in the old school ICP days.
Yeah, because you don't see that shit much, but that's where he gets a chance to break it out. I would like to see this song live, though, for sure.
That'd be dope, even if it's at a clown show, not even just Shaggy, because Jay could do the fucking solo part or the chorus part, so that'd be dope to hear live.
Yep, he's on it a little bit too.
It'd be cool to see a show. I know that they always go back to like the old shit or something like that to be like the second one on Juggalo Day. It'd be cool if they let juggalos vote on a set list one time, just so we could vote on shit we don't ever hear. Because as cool as Dead Body Man and Chicken Hunting is, I'd like to hear Alley Rat live one time before I die.
Right?
So
True.
that'd be a really dope way to do some kind of fucking show, is to let the juggalos decide on like the 30 tracks you're gonna fucking sing, or half
Yeah.
of them even.
That would be dope. Let people vote on the songs, man.
Oh
That
yeah.
sh- that shit would be all over the place. I bet it would still be Chicken Hunting and Dead Body Man.
Straight up.
But yeah, Alley Rat, the first of two solo Shaggy Two Dope songs on The Tempest. And then up next, we got a fucking banger, man. I don't know how this one slipped under my radar back in the day. I love this. This beat from Mikey Clark, man, the bass. They even talk about it in the beginning of the song, Haunted Bumps. The fucking bass was just fucking, crazy. And then, you know, Violent J, like just kind of like smooth, mellow flow. But then you got the chanting in the middle of his verses. Like this would be another fucking song I would like to see live. If they did play it live again, another one of those songs where I just tune out for a few minutes.
Whenever I heard this song for the first time, it kind of gave me an idea of what ICP could do outside of just talking about Dark Carnival shit. Because you would never hear this song on a Joker's card or anything like that, and they pulled it off really well. And the beat, I think, really is what makes it stand out. Especially if you're listening to it in the fucking whip with some bumps, man. That shit sounds like you got a fucking war going on in your fucking in your fucking two-seater.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. This song's a fucking I just again, I don't know how this one slipped under my radar back in the day because this is one of my favorite songs on the album now. Like when I re-listen to it now, man, Jay kills it on this. Again, he's not rapping about anything other than just the shit that he's bumping in his speakers and how the fucking bass is just rattling everything
Yeah.
and destroying everything around him. But it's like it's just so dope, man.
And I remember back in the day, they always talked about Jay having that black SUV that had that system in it. And I'm kind of sure this song was inspired by that.
Oh, for
so,
sure.
so whenever you know the backstories of shit, it always makes it kind of fresh. So
Oh
whenever
yeah.
I heard that, I was like, because I'd already read Behind the Pain at the time, so I knew about that fucking truck, and I was like, I bet that fucking truck I bet that truck inspired this fucking song.
Right. Yeah. A song not really having anything to do with, any kind of Dark Carnival lore, but just kind of one of those standalone bangers, man. This shit
That
is.
was It was like a topic you'd hear writers rap about more than
Yeah.
ICP. So that's why I was
Yeah.
like, damn, they can do some shit outside of the Dark Carnival.
That's what's dope about a couple of the songs on this album, where it's just like shit that you wouldn't normally hear ICP rap about, but it works so well. Like they just pull it off. Like they can do. Not that I doubt that they can do some shit like this, but I mean, they just prove that they can and they do it well.
I think they had to prove. I think they had to prove it to themselves, even because we were talking about it earlier. They were kind of lost without the Joker cards. They didn't know really any direction to go, and there was a lot of juggalos falling off and a lot of people losing interest. So they had to prove it to themselves first before they could prove it to us.
Yeah, it's very true. As much as of a confusing time it is for us, imagine what it was for them. They're like, "Fuck, man, we probably didn't even think we'd get this far. Now what?"
And the entire record label and music industry is changing as this is happening too. 2004 is when people were really starting to fucking not pay for music. So as this major thing is going down and the whole entire thing your career is built on ends, so is the music industry and the big paychecks
Right.
that you're getting from the big companies and shit like that. Like, they were no longer on big record labels. They were on Psychopathic doing it themselves. So a lot of shit changed just besides the ability to use Joker cards.
So true, because I remember around this time, I think I had like an iPhone 3 or some shit, whatever was out at the time, and iTunes was just starting to pop off. And everybody knows I love music. Everybody knows about my CD collection, my family and shit. And I remember for Christmas I got an iTunes gift card. I was like, "The fuck am I supposed to do with this?" Buy music. I'm like, no, I want to buy a fucking CD. Like, I don't want to buy no digital shit. Like, I can't believe you got me a fucking iTunes gift card. Like, thank you for the present, but fuck,
Yeah,
man.
fuck this.
Right.
I remember around that era, and that's about when this card or this album was coming out and was out a little bit was whenever the iPhones really popped off, and like you're talking about, iTunes took over. And then a lot of people that weren't using the iTunes were just doing it like illegally through like the LimeWire type shit that you could jailbreak your phone and do it like that. So yeah, the music industry was changing right as fucking their whole philosophy on like their career was changing. So that was a lot of fucking shit to go through. So I think they really had to prove it to themselves before they could prove it to us. I think they
Absolutely.
did it with this album. Listening to it now, man, Jay just his story or his songwriting ability just stands out so good on this fucking album.
Without a doubt. And that brings us right into a fucking storytelling song, Growing Again. I gotta assume it's JJ in the beginning talking about.
It sounds like about his age they would
Yeah,
be, unless it was like one of Shaggy's kids.
yeah, and it's fucking awesome. It's this little kid, sounds like 5 years old or something. They're like, imagine if you just keep growing. That'd be the fucking shit. Like it's and that made me think, is this a concept Jay got from JJ or one of Shaggy's kids or something? Because it's almost the concept, like, is a guide that just keeps growing and growing and just never stops growing. It's it's almost kind of corny, but not, because the song is just, it's done so well, but it's like not a theme I could imagine, like, that I would picture them rapping about. You know what I mean? And it may be because it is, the kid in the beginning, maybe that just kind of, it gives me that kind of feels because of that.
The only other thing I could think of is I remember Violent J saying growing up he always wanted to be big because he wanted to be a wrestler. He always wanted to be bigger and bigger and bigger. So maybe he thought, maybe he was like, what if my wish came true and I said I wanted to be just keep growing, and they whoever granted my wish took it literally, and I kept growing every fucking minute of the day. So you never know with Violent J. I've said it all the time. I think he's a top 10 all time in hip hop storyteller, not even just like underground. I'm talking anybody that's ever fucking rapped in hip hop ever. I think he's top 10, and I think this is one of his top 10 storytelling songs. It's written so well. There's a lot of times in his storytelling songs that he kind of has to fit some shit in there that kind of sound corny, but man, every fucking lyric on here fits perfectly, and they're not corny. They're done so well. I love the part that Shaggy's playing where he's like up on his basket, up on his
Yeah,
shoulder in a basket, just cheering him on and shit. Tell fuck the world and throw the lotus up. Like
yeah.
that shit'll fuck get you chanting that song singing along that part every time, man. I love this fucking song.
The hook too, super catchy. Love the hook on here, man. And yeah, the story just goes and goes and goes. He's what, 500 feet tall, running fucking 5 miles or whatever each step or whatever.
Yeah, something about how he's running over trees like blades of grass,
Yeah,
and just and his head stuck over the moon. All you see is his ass. Like, so he's literally above the clouds and everything. So he's so big, but everybody can only see his ass because he's so fucking big that it's up in the clouds. Like the lyrics on it, I was listening to it specifically because I was gonna make a big point of this song tonight, and then before we got on the air, I went back and listened to it just to listen to the lyrics. And man, he the wordplay, he's a fucking technician on this fucking song, man. There's no corny lines. There's no shit that's just thrown in to make them be able to get to the next line. Every fucking line is fucking perfect on this song. It's flawless in my opinion. One of my favorite Jay storytelling songs ever.
it's so good. And you got the funny shit mixed into, like you just said, people can only see his ass because he's so tall. Like, it's funny, but it brings the story along even further.
Oh
Love the
yeah.
shit. Shaggy, he's in his house like, holy fucking shit, you can't move. And if you do one thing, don't fucking move.
the it's so vivid and well done with the words that it plays in your head. And that's what a good
Yeah,
storytelling song is. You literally see it played in your head, and you see Shaggy freak it out that Jay's like growing it about to blow out his roof because he's gonna grow out of it. And then you can literally picture Shaggy in a custom made basket up on his motherfucking shoulder. Don't stop, come on! Like you can
yeah.
see that shit. It's so well done. It's just painted a picture for you audio.
This would be a great animated video.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
if they were to do some animation video, do a throwback video, this song right here would be the shit
Yeah,
animated.
yeah, it'd be dope as shit.
Man, just a great song. And I love how, I'll just assume it's JJ in the beginning. He sets it off so dope. That would be the fucking shit.
Sound like juggalos talking to each other. That'd
Yep.
be the fucking shit.
Yep. Fucking so good, man.
Sounds like Shaggy. Like Shaggy sounds like that shit whenever like somebody brings up a good idea with Shaggy. That'd be the fucking shit.
Right. Exactly. Oh man. Great song, man. So
Yeah, for
good.
sure.
Up next, Humdrum Boogie. This is just classic ICP sex song shit right here. Who doesn't like a fucking good old fashioned Hummer, you know?
It's one of like the catchiest ones too. Like I'm talking about, this is going to be a running theme throughout this show. Is the songwriting on this, man? It's just so catchy, like a pop song, but
Yeah.
about blowjobs.
Right. Right.
A perfect ICP fucking song right there, man.
And the overall feel of this album is a lot more lighthearted too. I feel this is where like they took a turn where it wasn't so dark, but there's still dark elements in it. But yeah,
I always say that Royal Highness is a party album because you can just put that motherfucker on and play it and have fun. And I think this is what this album is from ICP's catalog, is the party album, where you can just put it on. The songs are so well written, so catchy, and the beats are so good that it doesn't even really matter what they're saying. You're gonna have fun if you just listen to the album in a party situation, smoking some weed, drinking, hollering at some bitches.
right, true. Imagine you're at a party, you don't know anything about ICP, Humdrum Boogie comes on, and you just happen to pay attention to the lyrics. You'd be like, "What the fuck?"
That'd be one of those songs that could hit for them like Ned and Game did, just because it's so fucking funny and well written and different from anything people heard. That would be, could be maybe the same reaction people had back in '98 whenever they fucking heard Ned and Game for the first time.
Very true. Love the beat on there, man. Like, even though the overall feel of the album, because they didn't work with each other, like it still feels like that throughout the album. Like you could tell that they weren't working together, but the beats that Mikey Clark gave them were fucking fire. Were still really good.
It was like ICP just went into the studio and had fun making an album. It's like they didn't have anybody looking over their shoulder telling them this this hit needs to be higher, this needs to have a feel here, this needs to be doubled. It sounded like ICP just went in, had fun making an album.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And it carried over on you can hear it on the album, especially in songs like this right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Next song. This is the song that got me into The Tempest, really. I Do This. Man. I heard it 2 weeks ago when I saw, I think like Bagel Lovers or somebody was streaming that rock show that they were doing, and this song came on, and I'm like, man, this song is so good. And I was like, I had to Google Insane Clown Posse, I Do This. I didn't even know if that was the name of the song. Like, where is this song from? It's probably like Forgotten Freshness 5 or something. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh shit, it's on The Tempest. I have to go revisit The Tempest at this point because, man, that song live, and I'm watching it through a TV, and I was like, this shit is fire.
You're watching it through like a stream with shitty audio, even through a TV.
Yeah, somebody's phone, someone's sitting there like,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm glad you brought up that, because that's another thing that made me really rediscover The Tempest, is whenever I got Hatchet Attacks, and if I was a serial killer, it was so dope. I was like, where the fuck is this song from? And I didn't have internet or anything, so I literally had to go to the record store and look through the back of albums. Like, holy fuck, it's on The Tempest. I just didn't make it to it before I fucking returned it.
Yep.
So straight up, man. But yeah, this is my favorite song on the album. It's like I've already talked about, it's so well written. And then the part where if you're trying to hide a dead body, clown love, like that's so good for concerts, man. I'm glad that they broke that out live. I always wondered why they didn't break it out more live, because that part is so fucking custom made for a live clown show.
Without a doubt. It should be played at every live show. It really should. This song is so good. This song, I think of all the songs on this album, is like first six worthy. Like this is like right up there with the first six.
Yeah.
So good. Like if this closed out this album, I still like the closer of this album. But if this closed out this album, like would have been an amazing closer. But the fact that, you know, that they just threw this in the middle of the album and it still just fucking hits like that. So good, man.
I wonder if they'd have called this song "Clown Love" instead, if it would have gotten more traction. Just the
Mm,
title alone, because it could have been called "Clown Love." As many times they say "Clown Love," I know they'd already named the song that, but I guess you could have figured out a way to spell it different or something.
right.
I think
Yeah.
I think that might have got a little more traction because this is one of ICP's best songs ever.
With
Especially like I said, the way it's written, so well written. It that like Jay could have sold this to somebody in fucking Hollywood trying to make it on fucking pop radio. The melodies and shit.
yeah, without a doubt, man. It's the beat from Mikey Clark, the guitars on here, everything is just it's a perfect fucking song. I love this song. It's either this song or Haunted Bumps as my favorite song, on this album. But man, this song should be played at every show. I would love to see this song live.
Yeah, especially like I was talking about with that. If you're trying to hide a dead body, clown love,
Yeah.
like that's just fucking perfect, man. You got the clowns fucking out on stage throwing when the Fago whenever the clown love part hits. Like it's fucking perfect. I'm glad that they brought it into the set. Maybe they'll realize how dope it is after fucking seeing the reaction it got.
Hopefully they'll get feedback on songs, you know, that they play at these, specialty shows, you know, and get that good feedback and actually work it into a show. That
That'd be a dope one. I mean, that's obviously one that you'd want to see on the fucking retirement tour. Like, what more perfect of a fucking song could you sing on that fucking tour other than maybe Down with the Clown?
right. And at this point in the album, when I'm revisiting it and listening to it, it's like, man, fuck. I like this album, and I wish I saw some of these songs live, and I may have seen them live. I just don't remember. But it's like now I wish I want them to play these songs live now.
I mean, I started liking the album in 2008 or early 2009, and ever since then, so I would have noticed if they played them live. And the only ones I've heard is Alley Rat and If I Was a Serial Killer played live. I haven't heard any other ones live.
I do remember I'm a serial killer, but we'll talk about that when we get to that song. Up next, we got What About Now? This is a dope track. The beat on this song kind of reminds me of Some Fucking How off Psychopathics from Outer Space Volume 2, the solo Violent J song. It's got the guitars and shit on it. It's just, this is a hype ass track. The back and forth from Shaggy's and Jay is dope. They're talking about, I remember the Beatles, but what about now? And talk about all this shit from way back in the day. It's like I don't know. It's kind of weird, but they make it work.
Whenever I listen to it today, because it's kind of one of the songs. It's a good song, but it's kind of ones I don't really have a lot of opinion on. But whenever I heard it today, it kind of reminded me of "I Want My Shit," like just time traveling, how they've been alive forever and they've seen all this shit and they're telling people about it. It's kind of more, mythology around the fucking clowns, how they're never gonna
Right.
fucking die and they've been around for fucking ever.
True. You know, and at some points in the song, there was like, "There's fucking nothing happening right now. Like, it seems like there's nothing going on, and all this ill shit in the past." I guess if you do reflect, I guess the older you get, you reflect on all the ill shit, and you're like, man, and you're just thinking of it in that moment. You're like, what about now?
Straight up.
Ain't shit happening, but you're thinking of shit that happened over however many years, all in
Yeah.
one moment.
Yep. Straight up. I mean, I can compare it to what like old school hip hop heads do. Like, looking at hip hop now, like what the fuck's happening now? Like what the
Right.
fuck are these dudes mumbling with skinny jeans talking about? Like, where's my fucking gangster rap at? Like, so it was a good call by them, good perspective, a good way of looking at things.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a dope track. I love the beat on there, man. Like when I revisit it and that those guitars kicked in, it just reminded me of that Some Fucking How off Psychopathics from Outer Space. And that's like a standout track on that album. Jay killed that shit on there too.
I love the chorus on this song. Another one where it just catches you. By the third time you hear the song, you're singing along with it. And that's exactly what a chorus is supposed to do. It's supposed to hook you in to where you want to hear it again. That's why it's called the fucking hook. And it does it on this one. It does it on almost every song on this fucking album.
Like you said before, and I'll repeat it, the songwriting on this album is just so good. So good. I just don't know how I didn't notice it 15 years ago, you
He
know?
I think it's so good because he had no boundaries. We were talking about he wasn't boxed into a Joker card. Like he could write about whatever the fuck he wanted to, make the flow about whatever, use whatever fucking words he wanted to. Like I talked about how good a lot of these songs are, and there wasn't any just a couple of phrases here and there that make it corny. Like it seemed like he was just unchained. He could worry about whatever the fuck he wanted. Like he had these fucking melodies and ideals saved up for 12 years during the OG fucking card run. It was like, now that I'm free from this, I'm gonna break this shit out and be Prince for a while.
Yeah, these could be ideas that he's had for a while, just couldn't figure it into a Joker's card.
Straight up.
Kind of like the next song, "Watch My Ride." This ain't some shit that you would hear on a Joker's card, like at all.
What I always seen on this song, whenever it first goes on, I immediately envision who's that fucking dude? Ben Stiller on the Limp Bizkit video, whatever he makes Fred Durst watch his fucking ride. Always, whenever this song came out, because that that song wasn't that old then. As soon as I heard that, I was like, this reminds me of Ben Stiller on the Rolling video.
That's funny. That's funny. This is a dope track. Fire and more dope production from Mikey Clark. Guitars on here are dope. Violent J's verse, the first verse, is a little weird, little different, just because it's just watch my ride, and then
while I'm inside.
Yeah, but then Shaggy comes in with the second verse, and he's just rapping his ass off, and it's just, I do like Violent J's verse on here. It's just, it doesn't really match the beat, but it works. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I like the line. I think it's Shag. I took his keys. I took his ride. I took them both to the Echo side. Like as soon as I heard that, sign me up for this song.
Yeah. Oh, I love the old school references, like the Echo side and
straight up.
The Lotus shit on
Growing Again.
Yeah. Just
hell yeah.
Another just dope fun song that you wouldn't necessarily hear on a Joker's card, but they got free reign to do whatever the fuck they want.
These, I remember on Jam Exam, they said the Sideshow EPs were fun to them because they got to experiment and weren't necessarily buckled into one theory or ideal about a Joker card. And that's kind of what these songs sound like. If you broke them up into like 6 different songs and then put a couple of them out, they could probably surpass for Sideshows.
Yeah,
that's how good they are. I love those fucking Sideshow EPs. Like Beverly Kills is one of my favorite albums ever by ICP, more than a lot of Joker cards. So that's saying pretty high grace from me.
Yeah, a lot of these songs are they compete with the 6th. They really do. It's just how I didn't see it 15 years ago again. I have no fucking idea. No idea.
Same here. Like I said, I literally bought it, took the motherfucker, traded it in, and then bought it again 2 years later.
See, that's crazy. I didn't do that. I always 99% of the time I keep CDs. There's a very rare occasion where I'm like, fuck this album. I don't even want it in my collection. All right. Up next we got, let's see, news at 6:00. Man, this is why I don't watch the fucking news, because the news is the wicked shit. Straight up. There's nothing good. 90% of the time, at least, with the news, there's never any good. It's just always bad, doom and gloom. And I love that they put it in a song.
I think it's almost the same message as terrible. Just they blame the media specifically instead of just kind of rapping about all the shit. They actually put a target on who's to blame for it. It was the media, how they bring all that shit. And there's a line in it about, you want to see the real wicked shit, just check out the news. Like don't worry about our shit, man. Check out the news. They're the ones bringing you fucking video of fucking dead fucking hookers with their head cut off and pissed in.
Right. It's so true. Like the news shows murders. ICP raps about it. There's no visual to it. It's just a song that you listen to. You want the real wicked shit, tune into the news. And I agree with that. I stopped watching the news probably, it's been a long time. 15 years ago, I used to watch the news every day. And then it just got to a point where it was like, man, I can't fucking keep doing this. It's just, it's fucking sad out here. I feel like the world's ending every fucking day.
It's with ICPs, like with comic books, they almost kind of put it, they're rapping about a pedophile or something. and you kind of see it as like a comic book, like a villain in a comic book that they're about to kill. You see it on the news, and that gives that motherfucker a face and a name and an address. It makes that shit
I,
real. So you're seeing real fucking demons and monsters on the news. So yeah, I totally agree with the sentiment of the song.
yeah, and then they give you the details of what happened. It's like, bro, what the fuck, man? Like, it's real life. I mean, I know shit happens like that, but it's like, come on. Does the news have to be all doom and gloom?
Yeah, and I've noticed even since this song has come out, not saying that this was the reason for it by any means, but I've noticed since the like kind of the sentiment of like the people have changed, and they at least whenever like a mass murderer happens or a serial killer, they don't give the dude's name and make him famous and give him a fresh ass name like the Night Stalker, make him fucking super famous in the fucking while he's in jail he can write fucking books and make millions and shit. They kind of stopped doing that. So I think the public perception of how the news road kind of changed a little bit about 10 years ago.
That's true. Yeah, you don't get people with fucking nicknames anymore. These mass murderers and serial killers and shit.
Yep. They'll usually just say the gunman now instead of like whenever fucking Columbine happened and everybody knew those fucking name Clepote and Harris or whatever. Like
Yeah,
those
yeah.
dudes' names, pictures, their identities, their fucking trench coats and everything were blown up, and they became kind of like almost like an idol to people that were fucked up like that. So I guess they figured out enough from shit like that yeah, let's not give these fucking crazy ass motherfuckers cool names like Night Stalker and make them millions.
Right, the Zodiac killer and shit. Like, come on, man. Imagine you're the Zodiac killer. You're at home. You're like, yeah, that's me.
Straight up.
You got a dead person right next to you and shit.
Chopping up notes to send them because they ain't caught your ass yet.
Right. I did make a note that the ROC makes a quick appearance on News at 6 o'clock. One of the few voices that isn't ICP on the entire Tempest album. So it's cool to hear ROC. They're talking about like a car chase, and ROC's like, "Hey, I know where, I recognize where that is," or whatever.
I don't think I ever put that together that it was ROC.
Yep. So
Hell yeah.
I thought that was cool.
He was on Hatchet House then, wasn't he? So makes sense.
He was, yeah. Welcome to the Dark Side. Dope EP too. But yeah, News at 6 o'clock. Just, man, nailed it right on the fucking head with that shit, because it's true. It's just so true.
And that goes back to them being clowns so well. Like jesters have always made fun of society. They poke fun at stupid shit society does. Like way back in the day, in the medieval days, entertain kings and shit. If they were making fun of fucking people in society and dumb shit they did. That's what ICP's doing here, making fun of society and how what dumb shit they do on the news.
Exactly. Up next, man, this song back in the day, to me, was ruined by a terrible music video. I do not like the music video for The Tower. The music video is so bad, it turned me off to the song. But now, just listening to it, as I'm in the whip, whatever, driving, based on a true story, Tower sniper, I forget where it was.
Texas.
Yep. Yeah, was it
it's Texas Tech, I think.
It was at a college. But man, just dope storytelling by Violent J, based on a true story. And I love just the details of it, and knowing that it's a true story. When I revisited the album, I actually looked it up and read into the guy that did the tower snipings was a fucked up dude. He was a fucked up guy. Definitely had problems. He actually sought out help from like, therapists and psychiatrists and shit. And then, back then it's not like it is now where they can diagnose properly, and they just kind of brush this guy off, and he just kind of just fucking lost it. Killed his wife, killed his mother, and then went and did the fucking shootings from the tower. Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't really connect to this song much either. Like you were talking about, that video is really bad. It looks like that was made for like $1,000 on 2 hours of budget time. But what really made me like this song was the descent into evil that ICP did on the Patreon, and they talked about this shit and everything that like Jumpsteady's reading from like a printed out fucking paper of all these facts from the dude,
Yep.
and everything he starts to read, Violent J fucking finishes the sentences for him and then starts telling him all these other details about this dude. Like Violent J knew everything about this dude, and then you go in and investigate that fucking story and then listen to this song. It's fucking perfect, man. Like he
Yes.
describes this motherfucker to a T.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Like
This dude couldn't get his dick hard, and he's even got that in the fucking song. Like how he's fucking pissed off that he couldn't fuck. That's one of the
right.
reasons he wants to fuck kill people. Like that's like I remember Violent J said that on the Descent into Darkness. Said Jump Stays like, how the fuck you know that? He's like, I read a lot of books.
Yep. Yep. And that's dope that like research like that goes into a song like this.
Fuck
you know?
yeah.
Like they like it's a fascination. You know, people have, for whatever weird reason, we have this kind of fascination for serial killers. Like if there's a serial killer documentary, I think it was the Zodiac Killer that they just recently put a documentary like on Netflix a couple years ago. I watched that whole series. I'm like, even though I know what happens, it's like, God, I'm still watching it. And it was fucking amazing. It's like, what is the fascination with these sick fucking people that do this shit?
Violent J was talking about it on that show. If anybody hasn't seen that show, I think one of them's still up on YouTube. I think it's the one where they're actually talking about the mass shooter at schools and shit. So it wasn't the one where they're talking about the tower, but they're still pretty good because you can tell Violent J just sits on YouTube and just watches fucking documentaries about serial killers whenever he can't figure out a fucking song idea.
Right, right.
Pretty good place to draw some inspiration from.
I love the hook on this song too. And it was hot that day.
In the tower. Yeah,
So
it's
fucking hot.
like
I love that shit.
Violent J just flexed his songwriting ability so fucking like if it wasn't about shooting fucking people from the tower, that song could be some fucking pop diva like Mariah Carey singing about. Like the fucking melodies of it could be the chorus of that song is so good,
Man,
so well written.
For anybody that still sleeps on The Tempest, you got to revisit this album because it is just. It took me literally 15 years. And I've been bumping this album the last 2 weeks like it's a brand new ICP album. Like it's all I've been listening to. It's just so goddamn good.
That's dope. That's the first thing about it, man. You rediscover something that you slept on back in the day. It's like you got a fresh album from ICP that's fucking. You always say, man, I wish they fucking would have saved some of that shit from 2005. And now you go back, and you actually got shit they saved from like 2007 that you ain't ever really fucked with. It's a brand new fucking album to you.
Yes, sir. I've been loving every second of every listen of this album. Up next, we got the second solo Shaggy 2 Dope song. I think this is the only album where Shaggy gets 2 solo tracks. Am I right with that?
That's all I can think of, unless you're counting like Forgotten Freshness 1 and 2, where his fucking solo tracks were on. But that's a double album,
right? And that's just old shit. That ain't new shit. But this track is fucking dope right here. You got Shaggy in the beginning, outside of a party, and he's like, "Man, I'm going in this party. I don't give a fuck. You know, I don't really belong here, but this party sounds dope." Here's
100% Shaggy 2 Dope mentality.
Exactly. And he goes in, and this is DJ Clay. DJ Clay was like a new artist, psychopathic. I think it was Hatchet House, but DJ Clay's cutting it up in the club, and Shaggy's like, "Hey, this motherfucker's disrespecting me." Like he's taking this shit as personal disrespect. Like, no. This ain't even my party, but you're disrespecting me. I'm gonna fucking go up there and do some cutting with you, and we're gonna battle it out. I love this track.
It's like when Mono was lip syncing fucking Eminem songs to fucking Jay. He was disrespecting him.
Right. Oh shit.
It was cool that he put Clay on like that, and I think he did that because Clay toured with him on that Fuck the Fuck Off tour. He was his live DJ, and they really fucking got along well and chilled together. And I guess Shaggy heard him scratching and like respected his skills. I like how it's like a battle track. I was talking earlier about Shaggy scratching, man. It was like him getting to show off his skills and then getting to hear Clay do it as well, and know that Psychopathic suddenly got 2 of these dudes on their fucking roster. It was fucking dope.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's whenever I hear some some scratching on an ICP record, I go to the credits, see who it is, and you know, it, when it's Shaggy, it's like, man, they need to highlight that more from Shaggy doing the scratching because he's fucking dope at it. And I like DJ Clay, man. Like I think he's got an ill voice, and he fits really well on this song. And man, did DJ Clay DJ for them on the Tempest tour? Did you go to the Tempest tour?
No, it didn't come around here. I don't think.
I,
I think
I
it was still in the time that they were like barred from this fucking Louisville from when they had that riot and Bazaar. I
okay,
think that lasted 10 years.
yeah, because I did go to the Tempest tour, and I'm pretty sure DJ Clay DJ'd, but that was kind of a blurry time for me. I like to drink a lot, so it's hard to remember shit from that like era right over there. But I remember that tour, and I think I remember. I could be wrong, but yeah, we need more. We need ICP to showcase more of Shaggy's scratching for sure on tracks.
Thinking of the Hatchet Attacks DVD, I'm 99% sure that Clay's out there DJing live for him because I remember turning it on for the first time and not you don't back in the day you didn't see DJs out with ICP because of the Fago, and I was like, this dude don't know what the fuck he's gotten. He's just signed himself up to be on a show. Don't know what he's gotten himself into. I didn't know who DJ Clay was, but he had plexiglass like over his shit, so he could fucking do the scratching and shit under it. So he knew what was up, and yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I'm guessing if he was on that fucking DVD, he was probably touring with him.
Yeah, and that's dope. Like just like it was seeing a couple weeks ago ICP performing with a band because we never saw that before. Seeing them perform with a DJ is fresh, and you don't see it because of the Fago, but when it does happen, it's dope.
Yeah, I seen Mikey Clark was on stage with him for I think it was the Bang Pow Boom tour. So he was
Yep.
live like spinning the shit for Bang Pow Boom. That was fucking being a Mikey Clark fan. That was fucking crazy getting finally see him on stage with him because I remember the days of opening the album covers and it saying fucking the three members of ICP are Violent J, Shaggy, and Mikey Clark. So
Right?
to
Yeah.
see the fucking three members up there was fucking dope.
Yep. And his fucking Mad Professor coat with the goggles and shit.
Goggles and shit. Hell yeah.
So dope, man.
He would do like 4 a.m. like DJ sessions at the gathering and foam parties and shit, just up there for like 3 hours till the sun comes up, just fucking
Hell yeah.
rocking out with his crazy ass hair and fucking lab coat and shit, just gnarly as fuck.
So dope, man. Mikey Clark's the shit. Shout out
Hell yeah.
Mikey Clark, legendary producer.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that track is dope, and it's fucking super fresh that Shaggy got 2 solo tracks on the Tempest because you're lucky to get one sometimes.
Yeah, I would sign up for 2 every remaining Joker card from here on out.
I wouldn't complain about it at all.
It's a different flavor. And like I've said, since he came out with that fucking solo album, it was so good, man. Like he's been stepping up his game. We always give Monoxide a lot of credit from stepping up his game from like whenever he finally evolved to what it evolved to in the Abominations there, man. Shaggy from 2015 until his fucking solo album, man. I don't know what that dude fucking found or started hearing music differently, but he fucking hits now.
Yeah.
Way differently than he did back in the day.
He fucking kills it, man. My favorite verse from him is probably Fury off Fearless Fred Fury. That verse, man, even his verse on Loyalty on Yum Yum's Lure, man, he kills it on there. Like the breath control that dude got now is insane.
That's the difference. That's what I was gonna say. Is it's his breath control, and I guess it's because he stopped smoking cigarettes, stopped smoking out and drinking alcohol, and fucking his body up and shit all the time.
Yep.
Whatever he did, fucking keep doing it because you sound better than you've ever fucking sounded.
Absolutely.
And I always liked him even before then. He was always fresh as fuck. He's my favorite fucking member of the Clowns. And then he just upped his game even more. So yeah, keep that shit up for sure.
Absolutely. Up next, we got one of my favorites one of my 2 songs I liked when the album first dropped. I still love this song, "Bitch I Lied." Man, this is like on some Black in Your Eyes type shit. This is just some ruthless ass song from Violent J. Bitch I lied. He's talking about, I didn't buy you that, I stole you that, and then I stole it back. I
Straight up.
Shit. I love that shit.
And like, if you've read Behind the Paint, you know, they were living that life about whenever they're like 17, 18 years
Yeah.
old, man. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit of an autobiography. The funniest line in it, in my opinion, is, bitch, I lied. I never played football at Michigan State. Like, you can see Violent J getting by with that fucking lie because he's so big.
Right.
He's got that big ass forehead. He's fucking like 200, 300 pounds back in the day. You can see him getting away with telling bitches that he used to play football at Michigan State.
So true. My favorite line on this is there ain't no Mr. Right without a Mr. Wrong first, and you fucked up and meant Mr. Worst. I remember when I first heard that, I was like, bring that back. I gotta bring that back. Because it's man, just a ruthless song. I love it. Violent J
Yeah.
goes in on it. And the beat, man, Mikey Clark killed the beat on this song too.
That's one thing we didn't mention when we were talking about the beats is how good they are. We were talking about, you could tell they didn't work together in the studio, but the level of the beats, like where the actual just beat started from, where what they were given whenever they began this album, fucking on level with the OG6.
Man, this album is so good. If you slept on it, you got to go back. It's such a good album.
There's a DJ kit release for this album that has a bunch of instrumentals and shit. If you just want to hear how good that shit is, that Mikey Clark sent them and fucking play with the beats and shit. I remember they put that shit out, so you can probably find it on YouTube or something.
Yep, I remember they released that. Bitch, I Lied. When I was listening to it the last couple weeks, it reminds me of some shit that like Eazy-E would do when he was like solo after NWA. Only in the sense because Eazy-E was just ruthless. Like he had a song called "Fuck My Baby Mama." Like he would do crazy ruthless shit too. And like this, to me, you could tell, you can hear like an Eazy-E inspiration coming through on this song.
That's funny because whenever they re-released or covered Too Short, Freaky Tales, that's what made me think of this song. Is that, like, you know, you could hear the Too Short influence coming out on fucking Bitch I Lied. So yeah, I could see both of those fucking influences coming out on that, because I agree with the Eazy-E part as well.
Yeah, man, it's just such a ruthless song. Maybe not as fucked up as Black in Your Eyes, but
Yeah, he's not technically punching bitches in their eyes.
right, right, but still fucked up. But it's just it's ICP, man. It's just, man,
Yeah, without it being something Joker card related either, just something, you know, we were talking about how they needed material, and this is fucking perfect material they could cover. This could be on a Joker card or not be on Joker card. They always got these funny like sex songs on it, on like Joker cards and shit. So this was something that was right up their fucking alley.
This would be a funny music video, like watching him give a girl some shit and then taking it back.
Dressed as a Michigan State football player and shit.
Shit, that would be a funny music video.
Hell yeah, that'd be dope as fuck.
It probably wouldn't go over very well now, but
yeah, it'd go over better now than Black in Your Eyes video would.
True. That would be a fucked up video. Some dude just beating on his girl and shit.
And that phone call.
Yeah. Oh shit. And then we got so at the end of Bitch I Lied, we got like a little skit where they're like getting interviewed for the radio, and it's obviously some guy that never fucking heard of him.
Slice CP.
Yeah, Slice CP. And they're like, what? It's ICP, man.
We rap.
Right, yeah, we rap, yeah. And it goes into Play My Song. This is like cool, chill song, but still like wicked. It's like not one of the standout tracks on the album, but I still fuck with this song.
Other than I Do This is my favorite album on the track, or on the album, on the entire album. The delivery of it is so wicked and different from the rest of the album. It makes it really stand out. It's like we got the drip, drip, drip. There's blood on the strip. 3 disassembled bodies in the trunk of the whip. Like it's dark, man. It's, if you wanted that dark shit and you hadn't gotten it up to that point, man, this song fucking stands out because it's so fucking dark. And Shaggy's on fucking point in this fucking track. It's all about like murder. I mean, it's yeah. You know, that's what they're literally saying in the fucking chorus. Murder's what we talking about and always will be. Yeah. Like, fucking, man, it's classic. I get Seriously Hilarious vibes from it. Whenever I heard Seriously Hilarious, I thought of this song. I thought like they carried the concept over, because a lot of people kind of, this is one of the less known tracks of the Tempest. I'm like the only one I ever hear say it's one of my favorite tracks on the album, and that's what I always wondered if, whenever I heard Seriously Hilarious, if they kept that concept and moved it on to Seriously Hilarious.
That's good. Picking up on that or noticing that. Like I said, not one of my standout tracks, but still a good song, man. Like, no complaints from me on that song at all. The skit leading into it is just perfect as fuck, man. Just classic ICP skit,
I think it's Dave Noodle they're talking to. This is
Right.
Dave Noodle.
Funny
Have
as
we?
hell.
Did we talk about? Have we gotten to the spasmatic skit?
I forgot to talk about that, but that was after I forget what song. Maybe "Watch My Ride" or "What About Now" is like it was
I was
right
just wanting
around
to bring
there.
up the spasmatic chill out tent was the big thing at the gathering in that era. They actually had spasmatics. It wasn't just something on fucking just something they talked about on that little cut in right there. And they had all the flavors and shit at the gathering. They had like a little pavilion that was sponsored by it. So that shit was dope that they actually made it a reality. It's kind of like Camp Zool. Camp Zool was just a random ass song going to Almighty and it became a fucking thing.
Right. Yeah, I remember Spasmatic being sold at shows and everything. Like I remember the look of the can was like Tempest themed. Like it had
Yep.
those colors, had their faces on it. I remember Shanzi from Carnival Spirits. Shout out Shanzi. He was saying, "Man, I wish Spasmatic was still around. Best energy drink ever." And he was like serious about that shit.
I hear a lot of people say that. Like, I never wanted an energy drink when I was in 108 degrees fucking temperature at the gathering. It was just gonna suck all the water out of me, so I never fucked with it like at the gathering. But a lot of people say it was like one of their favorite energy drinks ever.
I I never fucked with energy drinks like that. I did have a little phase where I was drinking them. I do kind of wish I would have had a Spasmatic. I mean, shit, just to say I had it and
Yeah,
have the can.
I should have bought one and just brought it back and drank it, when I'm sitting in the air conditioning at my crib. But like, when you're sitting there staring at it at 108 degrees and it's just sitting on the bar, it's not even in a cooler. It's like, I
Right.
think I'm gonna pass on that.
Yeah. It's cool that they do shit like that, like just randomly come out with a fucking energy drink and it's only like a limited thing.
It's like the Whoop Dub beer, like that's out now. You can order. I think you can order that like directly to your doorstep now. You don't even have to find a store.
Right. Yeah. Um, all right. We got next Mexico City. This is the only song on the album that I don't like.
I agree 100%. This is in my top 10 least favorite ICP songs ever.
Yeah, when I revisited the album a couple weeks ago, this song came on, and I kind of zoned out. And then I'm like listening to it, and I like started getting irritated, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the song." I'm like, "Fuck this song, man!" Like, I don't like this song. It's just weird. Uh, it's kind of slow. It kind of fucks up the momentum of the album, and it's like right at the end too.
Yeah, it's like they. We'll talk about this track coming up, but it's like they made If I Was a Serial Killer twice and made one really horrible and called it Mexico City. It's the same tempo, same fucking lyrics almost, like just
Right?
changed up to work to the song, like same way the lyrics are laid out and everything. It's like
Yeah.
they had a friendly version and a serial killer version. Like you play this version for your mom or play this version for your juggalos.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just I don't like the song, but
That song's horrible. It sounds like filler,
yeah, for sure.
complete
Like,
filler. Because especially on this album, whenever the songs are so well written, it
yes,
stands out like a goddamn sore thumb.
so bad. And when I posted on Twitter last week, I was like, no trolling. The Tempest is fire. And of course, I got a lot of comments on it. And somebody actually commented, Mexico City is my favorite song. I was like, congratulations to you, dude.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's like whenever Luke said Dead Man Walking was his favorite fucking Blaze fucking song. I was like, whoa.
Like, what? What?
You heard One Less G?
I know. You heard the EP? You heard anything? Like,
Yeah, that's what I'd have had to say to that day. Like, you heard I do this?
right. So Mexico City fucks up the tempo of the album, but not it doesn't fuck it up so bad where you can't just finish out the album with If I Was a Serial Killer, because this is just a fucking classic. From the first time I heard it, great way to end the album, great way to end a show. They ended the show on the Tempest tour with this. I remember that. And man, like just If I was a serial, like he's singing like just serial killer shit, and just it's so good.
I literally blame Mexico City for me not discovering if I was a serial killer until I've heard it on Hatchet Attacks, because I guarantee I heard Mexico City and said, "Well, that's it. I'm just starting this album over. Like I'm not listening to this shit for the rest. Fuck it off." But yeah, this song is fucking great, man. They sing it live. They close out shows, like you said, that Hatchet Attacks. They closed out live. Jay always does it, like he does his like his Eddie Vedder impersonation where he's up at the mic, just
Yep,
fucking eyes closed, singing and shit. Fucking dope. Shaggy comes in with the dope ass parts like I see talking about Wicked Clowns, Mikey Clark again in the chorus. Fucking super dope song.
absolutely. And like when the album came out, I liked the song, but when I saw it live, and I swear they like it's a 7 minute song already, but I swear they performed this shit for like 15 minutes at that show. I might have been super fucked up, but it felt like it was super long, but it was so dope. I just remember being in there and like just vibing out to that song and like getting home and being like, I gotta listen to it again. Like great show closer. And it's like not your typical closer to of an ICP song where they're on some like sentimental, like real, like heartfelt shit. This is like if I was a serial killer, like this is what I would do.
That's what one of the reasons I was gonna say it tells you it's such a good song is that that if I was a serial killer is knocked past me by. I'm coming home. Fucking
Yeah.
nothing's left. Crystal Ball. Like that song has knocked those songs off of the playlist for that night so they can close with this fuck track off an album
Right.
that most people don't like.
Right.
That a lot of people might not even got to that song because of Mexico City. And that they still chose to fucking close out fucking songs. Even like not touring the Tempest. I'm talking about today.
Yeah.
They still play that motherfucker, this era.
It's man, great song. Like if they ended with if I saw them tomorrow and they ended with this song and not pass me by, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Like it
Love like
wouldn't.
the layback float Shags has that kind of contrasts so well with Jay's saggy to it. Like I park outside these bitches home, then drive away, come back with my lights off. This time I'm here to stay. I wear human bones around my neck and have my ceremonies. Come back upstairs and microwave some macaronis. Like Shags was on one, man. Just it's like literally like them talking about serial killer shit, but also writing like a serial killer would, just out of their mind, like just fucking crazy. Like most serial killers are like Ted Kaczynski in their fucking cabin shitting in a fucking bottle,
Yeah.
like they're fucking out of their mind. And that's what that song was written like. Jay's talking about fucking smoking people, call him so they'll call him the smoker. Speaking of
Yep.
giving people cool nicknames, it was so he wanted a cool nickname, so he's gonna start smoking people. Like
Yep.
they really pulled off the like looking at it as an actual crazy serial killer really well. It wasn't like Jay and Shaggy looking at it really.
And Violent J pulls off not being a good singer so good. So good.
I've actually speculated that the reason that the Marvelous Missing Links aren't as good as they should be is because Young Wicked is too good of a singer to be singing on an ICP album. You need that off key Violent J to make it fucking wicked and eerie sounding.
Yes.
Like if it sounds too good, it don't work.
That's true. You know what? Thinking about that because it sounds it sounds too polished. It sounds too fucking it sounds
Too
too good.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. You're right.
I was trying to I was listening to those albums trying to figure out why they didn't hit with hardly anybody, because that's universally the two albums that most people say is their least favorite Joker card, and that's the one thing I came up with is that the singing on it is too good. It's too clean.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't give you that eerie vibe of like a crazy ass dude with his face painted singing to you while he kills you.
Right. Exactly. I think you nailed it with that one for sure.
Jay needs to go back and fucking sing all them parts and re-release that shit, dude.
It might be a fire album then.
Hell yeah. Mix it with the fucking Phantom and shit. Put it
Hell
all
yeah.
together. That'd be dope.
That would be. Um, but yeah, that's the end of the album right there. Revisiting it 50 I mean if you ain't got the fucking point at this at an hour into the show, 15 years go by and man, I slept on this album for way too long, way too long. It's a really good album from ICP. In my opinion, it rivals some of the shit from the sixth. It really does. Like they just knocked it out of the park with this album. And yeah, I mean, what do you think 15 years later?
Yeah, I find myself going back and listening to this album more than I go back and listening to like Hell's Pit or even Shangri-La. So yeah, I agree that it's right up there with some OG Joker card shit. And just we talked about it numerous times, the songwriting, man. If you want somebody to always talk shit about ICP and saying how lame their fucking lyrics are and shit, put this album on for them. Fucking put on Do This. I do
Right.
this all the time. Should change their fucking mind, or let them listen to Growing Again and tell them to listen to the fucking storytelling part of it. Like this is like an album. Re-listen to it 15 years now or 15 years later. It makes me like want to show people that talk shit about Icy. I want to show them this album. Like, listen how good these motherfuckers can write songs and fucking lyrics that fucking make sense whenever they aren't like forced into a box about trying to rap about a typical fucking running theme throughout an album. Like this would be an album that I would show non-juggalos trying to get them to fucking become juggalos.
Play them like haunted bumps. Like, man, that's a banger. Like, that's hard to deny that's not a banger. Like, just the beat. If you ain't bobbing your head to that beat, man, come on. Like, yeah.
I'm 15 years later. I'm also wondering if it would be really cool if they did like a Juggalo Day or a Big Ballas like performance for it, or even The Gathering, I guess, perform that one night.
That would be dope. Maybe if we get more love for this album, and that's the whole point of this show right now, is to spotlight an album that maybe some people are still sleeping on or did sleep on or just don't show it love currently, to start showing it love. It's been 15 years. If I were to rank ICP's albums, including this and Bizarre Bizarre, not just the Joker's cards, like this would automatically go higher than what I would have had it a year ago. You know what I mean? Like I would bump this up higher than some Joker cards for sure.
I know a lot of people that don't like the older stuff like Carnival Carnage and Ringmaster say it sounds dated and old. I think this is the album that's aged the best. Like it's almost timeless. It's just good music, well written, and great beats. Like that doesn't really ever go out of style.
And it's crazy, that Mikey Clark and ICP weren't in the studio together. Why is it when bands do that shit? Like my favorite Pantera album is Great Southern Trendkill. Pantera, Vinny, Dimebag, and Rex did all the music and then sent it to Phil, and then he did the lyrics to it in a whole different state. Like they weren't even together, and that album is a banger. Like, it's weird how albums could come together like that and just be so good. Not in the same studio, but it just comes together.
Yeah, Tripod was basically written like that. Like the band made the music and then Lane would record it at like 4 a.m. or whenever he showed up at the studio ready to do it. And it came out fucking amazing.
It's another dope album. But yeah, man, like 15 years later, and then, another thing during this era, we had the Calm leading up to the Tempest. And then after the Tempest, we had Eye of the Storm. And those just stick out like sore thumbs so bad. Like, especially after the Calm, I was like, man, I don't know if they can do it. And at the time, it was like, oh, they can't do it. But now it's like, oh, like somehow, like they gave us the Calm, gave us a fucking banger, and then gave us another just a throwaway EP with Eye of the Storm. Like you have this gem just sitting there in the middle.
I always thought that maybe the two surrounding EPs were songs that almost kind of like Yum Yum's Lure was, like songs they initially started out to be the main album and then they listened to them and didn't really like them, but it was like, we got the fucking things, let's put them out as an EP. And then did the while making the new album that they started on, the latter EP was the like leftover tracks that didn't make Tempest. That's the only thing I could think of to be such a different consistency of quality.
Right. True. I think actually in the booklet for the Tempest, it says the Eye of the Storm is leftover tracks from the Tempest sessions.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason they didn't pick those tracks to be on the album.
Right. Yeah. If Mexico City wasn't on this album, this would be a perfect album.
I was gonna say they should have put Mexico City on that EP.
Yeah.
It'd have been perfect. It'd have been flawless.
Yeah, a flawless album, but still, man, like just a great album. 15 years later, I'm glad they performed I Do This and I saw the live stream through shitty cell phone quality, stream quality, and still like hit me in a way to where it was like, all right, now I need to revisit this album because I've been saying it for a while. You've been talking about this album for a while. Like every time I'm like, I don't like the Tempest, you're like, go listen to it. Go listen to it. And I'm like, yeah. I'll fucking listen to it. Yeah, sure. And
I think it's one of those albums that get better the more times you listen to it too, because you can sing along with all these fucking sing along choruses that Jay's fucking penny.
all the chanting and everything that's incorporated in the songs. Like I said,
Yeah.
I started bumping it 2 weeks ago, and I'm still bumping it like it's a brand new ICP album. Like
Oh yeah.
it's all I've been listening to. No new music, very little new music that has come out has made it into rotation because this album is just so good. I'm sorry I trash talked it so much. I was wrong. All that good shit. But man, this album's a banger.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's right up there with some of that old school work. I always say that the Clowns never put out a bad song in the 90s. Like, find me a bad song in the 90s that ICP put out. And this album, aside from Mexico City, could be back in the 90s. Not a bad song on it other than Mexico City.
Yep.
And coming into it, I didn't know if initially listened to it. I didn't think I'd like ICP moving forward. I was like, well, this must be done. I
Yeah.
made it through one listen to it and I
Right.
didn't like it. So
Yeah.
I was thinking my favorite band ever was done. And then, listen to it 2 years later and find out it's fucking a dope ass fucking album. It just sounds the way I would sum it up is if you've listened to the OG6, you've listened to all the fucking sideshows, you've listened to Twisted, Lotus, and everything, and like you've listened to it. I'm talking like 5 to 10 years. You know that shit. Like you put this on, and it's gonna sound so different from everything else that you heard and have heard from those previous eras that it's gonna stand out and sound really fucking refreshing and good to you.
Absolutely. It makes me almost wish that I appreciated it more when it first came out because like I said before, Psychopathic was in a weird it was a weird era, man. Like not much good music was coming out at that time. You know, the whole the first six was done. What's going to happen next? And man, this was just a gem just sitting there for 15 years and I didn't even know it.
And that's like even you talk about like Psychopathic at the time. Twisted was coming off like Independence Day, one that didn't really hit, had a lot of guests, so people didn't connect to it like they would like a Wicked that was upcoming. So this album really bridged the gap to get people to Wicked, which got people to Bang Pow Boom. Like in 2009, it popped off again, like it was in the
Yep.
90s, almost there for a little while. And if this album was as bad as those two EPs, I don't think any of that shit would ever happen. I don't know if we'd be talking about second Joker card deck at this point because it might have just been over. Everybody I knew that was listening to ICP was like off that train and just done with it. And then eventually they got to, like I'm talking about, like Wicked and fucking Bang Pow Boom, and the whole scene fucking kind of popped again.
Right? Yeah, man. Um yeah, I just happy 15th to the Tempest. Just a dope album. Um, I appreciate you hopping on here with me. It was so dope to break down this album. And I had to do it with you because you were always just trying to get me to listen to this. And I'm like, fuck out of here, dude. That album blows. I'm not listening to it.
That's like me and you trying to get Mike to listen to fucking Royal Highness. We eventually just had to have a listed party to set him down and force him to listen to that shit. And he fucking loved it once he listened to it. And like, he only disliked like 2 songs.
Exactly. You got anything you want to plug before we bounce up out of here?
I other than 5 Piece every Thursday on Fago Lovers, nothing music related. I got a documentary about the '96 Kentucky team, my favorite team of all time. You can find that on the my Homer's Radio channel. It's a documentary, so if you like how I put the documentaries together, it's all about like a '96 Kentucky team ended up going on to be the most successful team in college basketball in the NBA. Made $306 million as a team, which is more than anybody else. Won the national championship for the first time like 20 plus years. Undefeated for the first time in 41 years in the SEC. So really dope fucking team. And some of the dudes from the team actually helped me get my job with ESPN Radio, Derek Anderson. So super cool fucking dudes as well. So I wanted to do a documentary about them. So I doubt anybody gives a fuck about Kentucky basketball watching this. But if Buckshot, maybe
Yeah,
he's from
Buckshot,
Kentucky,
yeah.
but he's probably a Louisville fan because he's from Louisville.
It's true. Yeah, go check out 5 Piece. Very dope show. Like just one of the top tier, top quality shows in this Juggalo realm. Just really dope work you guys do over there. Shout out to Mike and Luke.
Hell yeah.
And I want to thank you again for hopping on here and for the Scotty D hookup. The interview that I did with him, that was fucking fresh. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Scotty D's a recluse unless it's a show, man. So shout out for getting him on that fucking interview. That was dope.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Go listen to the fucking Tempest if you ain't heard it or you think it sucks. It doesn't, I assure you. Jokerz Gallery, he stands by me.
100%. Even the only one song you got to skip is Mexico City. Every other fucking track is a banger. And if you don't like it the first fucking time you listen to it, like, you know, smoke you some weed, drink you some drink, or do something, put it on in the background and listen to it. And just, you know, kind of get it in while you're playing some video games. I guarantee by the 5th time you play that shit, you'll be singing along, loving it.
Big facts. And that's going to wrap it up. I'm Rowan Bone of the Beneath the Dirt podcast. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.